What's up guys, I'm Lizzie. Holy smokes, it's really bright and my horse is really dirty because it's November weather. What can you expect? At least it's not snowing. Life goes on. And we're here. I thought today we should go over having your horse stand still while you mount and dismount because it's very important. That's where a lot of accidents happen and you can avoid a lot of freak accidents by doing it correctly, I guess. Usually when a horse is trained, they're trained to stand still while you mount. And a lot of the times we kind of train them to not stand still while we mount the more we ride them, because we let them walk off while we mount and we get on and we immediately ask them to walk. So they're anticipating walking as soon as we're getting on and we just don't correct it. So usually we're the ones creating the bad issue and we allow it to happen, and if you let your horse walk off while you mount, then you're just making the problem worse. So we'll go over mounting from the ground, mounting from a mounting block or step or whatever, and dismounting, because a horse that is not standing still or is likely to jump or spook or do something unpredictable while you dismount is also very dangerous. It's actually very simple. It's just being consistent and not settling for, okay, if you don't want your horse walking off, then don't allow it. I'm not saying be the big bad boss and show your horse who's the boss and, you know, push them around or whatever. I am just saying that if you don't like a certain mannerism in your horse, then don't encourage it. And when you get on and they start walking off and you allow that, you don't correct it, that's encouraging it because they think that was the right thing because nothing happened. So if you don't like that your horse is walking off while you are mounting, then it's an easy fix. You don't have to allow it. You don't have to continue on with your horse walking off with you every single time you mount because, oh, my horse just walks off with me when I mount. It doesn't have to be that way. And if I was gonna go get on a horse and they seemed very uncomfortable with me getting on and always turned away from me when I would go to put my foot in the stirrup, I would find that as information that the horse doesn't actually want me to get on and they don't feel comfortable with me getting on right then. So if your horse seems anxious or uptight and they turn their hindquarters away from you or take a side step away from you when you go to mount, and then you try to mount anyways and you just jump off your mounting block to try to reach them before they're too far away from you, that's a good way to create a freak accident because your horse is already uptight and nervous, and if you jump at them while they're saying don't, obviously they're going to spook, jump, buck, rear, whatever they do. So if you don't want something bad to happen like that, you have to take into consideration what the horse is trying to tell you and communicate with them. And if they don't want you to do that right now, we have to do some things to make them comfortable with us being at their side, putting our foot in the stirrup, taking our foot out, putting our foot back in the stirrup. We have to be able to stand at their side without their head being up high in the air and their ears being back. We have to make sure that the horse will park nicely at the mounting block while we stand on it. We don't have to get on at that point because we're not teaching the horse that every time they go to the mounting block we have to get on. A lot of times that creates a problem when you have them associate the mounting block with you getting on and they don't exactly like you getting on. If they always think that every time they go to the mounting block you're going to get on, they're not going to want to stand at the mounting block. You have to make it fun for them to stand at the mounting block. You have to give them a treat, or you have to give them scratches. You have to let them know that it's not always going to be work when you get on them. So yeah, there's a lot going on when a horse tells you they don't want you to get on. Either getting on them causes them pain, their saddle doesn't fit them, they have back issues, muscle soreness or whatever, or they are uptight and nervous about what we are going to do. Maybe they're anticipating a hard workout that they are ready to do or not wanting to do at the time. So in order to create a horse that is okay with you getting on them, you have to make sure that you aren't always just doing the same old drills that bore them to death and stress them out so that they don't want to do that again next time. I think it's a good thing to divide up your time when you're riding. You can have a time where you work out, you can have a time where you relax, you can have a time where you do something that they enjoy. Make sure that there's something in it for both of you so that you both have something to get out of it and you both enjoy it, because the horse is doing a lot of work for you, so you can give them something to look forward to when we ride. So let's mount from the ground. Say I was going to get ready to mount. I go to put my foot in the stirrup and she starts turning her butt away from me or she starts walking off. I would grab this rein right here and I would pull her this way and I would make her move her hindquarters and I'd spin her around in a circle. And then I'd have her stop again and then I'd go back out to her side and I would try again, and if the same thing happens, again, I would move her around, make her spin in a circle. And if she's doing this because she's uptight and nervous, then I would do some other games on the ground. Last week I posted a video on 5 groundwork games that you could do with your horse, and I would definitely go through all 5 of those before I got on a horse that was acting like she didn't want me to mount. First, when you go to mount, you want to make sure that your horse is chill, because if they're uptight and they're nervous about something, they're uncomfortable with their surroundings or whatever, I would suggest doing the crab walk first. And again, I went over that in my last week's video. So if you don't know about the crab walk, then go watch that video. And then once she's comfortable enough to stand still, let me stand at her side, I'm gonna make sure that she can bring her head to her side. Good girl. And I do this a little bit differently than your traditional cowboy, so if you want to see how I do it, then you can go to last week's video and check that out. Because the way I do it, I want my horse to engage with me and be present with me. It's not a goal of mine to just have her release her head. I want her to be able to engage with me and be present and be sniffing me and aware that I'm here about to get on. As you can see my foot going into the stirrup and stuff. So go watch last week's video and you can see the whole process of how I do the head to the knee and how I train it. So again, we'll make sure that she can bring her head to her side and she's comfortable and she doesn't move when I put my foot in the stirrup, when I bounce. I'm gonna keep her head to her side, make sure that she's okay with me bouncing, going up once, coming down, going up. I should be able to goof around all I want on the ground right here without her moving, taking off or whatever. Now, the only thing I ever have to keep Stella from doing is eating grass, because that is her #1 thing, that she likes to drop her head and eat grass. And I let her eat grass a lot, and I'm okay with her eating grass. But when I am doing something that could be risky, or there could be a time where if she's not paying attention, she might spook or something, and if I'm in a vulnerable position where I have my foot in the stirrup and I want to get on, I want her to pay attention. I don't want there to be any risk of her not paying attention and then, something taking her by surprise because she wasn't fully aware of what was going on. So I feel like she gets distracted when she's eating grass, so I don't want her eating while I'm getting on. So I want her to be aware, and when I go to get on, I'm gonna make sure that she stands still. And I'm gonna keep her here, and I'm gonna have her bring her head to my knee on both sides. That side, this side. And if I got on and she started walking, I would have her stop and back up, and then I would get off and do it over again. Bring her head to my knee. I'm in no hurry to mount. I'm in no hurry to get anywhere. I'm gonna take my time. She can take her time. If we feel like we're in a hurry and we feel like we have to get on and go, then we're gonna learn bad manners about getting on and going without waiting for the get on and the command to go. So we want them to stand still after we mount, and then I can ask her to go. Oh, back up. Good girl. So, oh. Again, head to the knee. I want her to keep her head up because I don't want her to be distracted. So I'm gonna try that again. Oh. Back up. Good. Head. Head. Good. And again, if she started walking forward, I would correct her, have her stop, have her back up. Good girl. A lot of times we create impatient horses because we are impatient and we don't have the time to take what it takes. So we create horses that are also impatient because, that wears off. Horses are really good at anticipating and getting used to routine. And Stella is a huge anticipator. So we have to make sure that we change things up and we're not getting them stuck in a routine, because once they're in a routine, they'll start anticipating and getting one step ahead of you because they are just as eager as we are to get things done. So we want to teach them that we're in no hurry, there's no rush, we can take our time, and yeah. And I don't use a mounting block a lot because, for one, I don't have one, and for two, my horse is short, so it's easy to mount from the ground. But I do like to teach her to be able to stand still on a mounting block, just like I think that people that use a mounting block a lot should also teach their horse how to mount from the ground. But that's besides the point. So when I'm teaching them to stand still on a mounting block, usually the thing that they do on a mounting block is they just scooch their rear end away from you, so you have to reach really far with your leg to get under the saddle. And that's not safe, it's not cool. the horse is saying that they don't really want you on their back. So if you have to reach your leg really far to get on their back, then probably they will scooch even further while you're in the process of getting on. You'll probably fall, tip your mounting block, or they'll spook or jump away from you, or lots of bad things could happen in that scenario. So we don't want to be rushing to mount. We don't want the horse to scooch away and then have us still try to get on, because that's not great. So what I do when the horse moves their butt away, or they just don't stand perfectly where I want them to, is I just ask them to go around and turn around, go back the other way, turn around, go out the other way, and I ask them to stand still, and I'll wait a minute, and if they're standing still, then I'll try to get on. If they move, then I'll keep having them move again. But if they're not standing exactly where I want them to, I just ask them to keep moving, and then I ask them to stop. And if they don't, then I ask them to keep moving. I'll give them the opportunity to stop in the right spot, but if they don't, I'll just ask them to keep moving. I'm not being aggressive about it. I just have all the time in the world, and you can keep moving if you want to keep moving, but you also could just stand still here if you wanted to. And once they accept your offer, then make sure you go through the steps again. Make sure they bring their head to their side so that they're aware that you're getting on. Make sure that they're okay with you like putting weight on the saddle and getting up and getting off. And if you go to get on, put some pressure on the saddle and they step away from you, then we have to go back to square one and have them keep moving back and forth. And we're going to do this until we can lay on the saddle, put our foot over the saddle, and have them stand perfectly still. And again, when you get on and they start walking, we want to stop them, back them up, and get off, do it again. And then once we can get on and have them stand still, we're going to stand there for a minute, and then we'll go. This is a great way to break up the routine and keep the horse guessing as to what we're going to ask next and what we're going to do next, so that they're not trying to anticipate the usual and try to get one step ahead of you. And then dismounting is very similar, where we want to make sure that we come to a full stop before we get off. If we are okay with the horse continuing to move while we get off when we're training them, then that it's okay, and that's what you do when you get off, is that they keep moving. If the horse is too antsy to stop when you want to get off, bring their head to their knee. So spin them in a circle a couple times. Keep their head to their knee when you get off. If you feel like your horse is in a bad situation, you want to get off, you bring their head to your knee. They'll probably spin a couple times, and then once they are settling down a little bit, that's when you can slip off and do whatever you need to do on the ground. But again, if you allow your horse to continue to move while you get off, you're training that to be the case every time. So if you don't want your horse to be distracted, moving quickly, a little bit uptight, nervous while you get off, and have that bad situation happen where your foot gets stuck in the stirrup and they spook while you're getting off because they're uptight, then we want to do some things to try to regulate their nervous system and bring them down to earth and make sure that they're chill before we get off. We want them to be comfortable, and again, we want them to stand still, either at a mounting block or just anywhere. And we're going to practice that a lot until we get it to where they know that they have to stand still when we're getting on and off. And again, the head to the knee is a great way to help your horse, for one, stay in the same location so they're not running off. They're not able to bolt or do anything crazy when their head is to their knee. So you're kind of in a safe spot when their head is to their knee, but they can still spin around pretty fast. So you want to, if you're in a sticky situation, head to the knee, have them try to chill out a little bit and then get off as soon as you can. But if you feel like your horse is just a little bit, after a run or something, they're just a little bit uptight, we can cool them off by doing bends and big circles and just have them walk in a large circle and make that circle smaller and smaller until they are licking and chewing, sighing, relaxing a little bit, and then we can get off. It's a great idea to have your horse come to relaxation by licking and chewing, sighing, snorting, whatever. That is a good indication that your horse is coming back down to earth and is present, aware, and is not going to freak out if you try to dismount. Anyways, that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you did, give it a big like and subscribe. I post new videos every single Sunday, so don't forget to come back next week. You can go follow me on Instagram and TikTok, and I'll see you guys next week, Sunday. Bye!